He was condemned to die every night, hunted, attacked in the darkness, and forced into a battle he could never fully win. His entire existence was a vicious cycle, an eternal sentence of battle and terror. Yet he was called the Creator, King of the gods, Father of the Pharaohs, by an empire. Millions bowed before him, praying to him for life, warmth, and the very order of the universe. His name was Ra. How could the ultimate source of life be trapped in an eternal cycle of death? How could the king of the gods be the most tormented prisoner in the universe? Before time, there was only none, an endless, black, chaotic ocean of non-existence. From this abyss, a single will rose up, creating himself upon a primeval mound called the Ben Ben. This was Ra-Adam. His very first act, the choice to exist, was a declaration of war. In creating order, he simultaneously defined its opposite, an enemy, chaos. From that same primordial shadow, a dark reflection was born, Apep, the great serpent of non-existence. Apep's goal was not to rule. It was to unmake creation, to swallow the sun, and to pull the universe back into the silent nothingness of Nun. This established the central conflict, not of good versus evil, but of existence versus non-existence. Ra's new universe was now a battlefield. Every day he rode his solar bark, the Manjay, across the sky, dispensing life to the world he had made. But every evening, as he dipped below the western horizon, he was not going to rest. He was entering the Duat, the perilous underworld. This nightly journey was a desperate battle for survival. In the deepest hours of the darkness, Apep would be waiting, a colossal serpent miles long, attempting to block the path, hypnotize the divine crew, and swallow Ra whole, extinguishing the light forever. The entire fragile order of the cosmos was suspended over this abyss, protected only by the iron will of the god who had to fight and win this same battle every single night for eternity. And so, the cosmic stage is set. Ra, the self-made god, has willed a universe into existence, a fragile bubble of order called Ma'at, floating in the infinite hostile ocean of chaos. He has created a family of gods, the Ennead, to manage this new creation, and he has inadvertently birthed his own antithesis, his shadow twin, Apep, the serpent of non-existence. His days are a glorious procession of life-giving light, but his nights are a secret, desperate war for survival. And he knew that in just 12 short hours he would have to descend once more as the weary old man to fight the exact same battle all over again. Ra had survived his first great crisis, but it had cost him his home. In quashing humanity's rebellion, he was also alienated by it, retreating to the distant heavens, a remote emperor. This new peak of his reign was a contradiction. He was a glorious, distant king by day and a weary, embattled warrior by night, now utterly dependent on his crew for survival. This combination of distance and weariness created a fatal vulnerability. The God who was once absolute was now predictable, and the next threat to his power would come not from the dark abyss or the mortal world, but from inside his own house, from a granddaughter clever enough to see the cracks forming. So picture this state of existence. This is the peak of Ra's reign, if you can even call it that. It is a reign of contradictions. He is the distant celestial king, the glorious sun in the sky, a remote concept of power. And he is the weary, embattled veteran, fighting a desperate hand-to-hand trench war in the darkness every single night. He is at once triumphant and tormented. It is Ma'at. It is the order he fought to create. But what is the psychological toll of this? What does it do to a mind, even a divine one, to be locked in an eternal repetitive struggle where total victory is impossible and total defeat is unthinkable. It breeds a profound bone-deep weariness. But more than that, it creates a dangerous vulnerability. Ra's greatest strength, his consistency, his cyclical nature, the fact that he is Ma'at, is also his most exploitable weakness. He is above all predictable. Apep knows exactly where he will be and when. His allies know his patterns. And his family, the Ennead he created, they see the cracks forming. Ra, the self-created, is utterly alone in his burden. The other gods on the night boat, Set, Thoth, Isis, they are his crew. They fight bravely. But at the end of the 12-hour journey, their shift ends. They return to their own lives, their own cults, their own intrigues. Ra does not. This battle is his life. He is the captain who can never, ever leave the bridge. He is the only one who was there at the beginning, the only one who truly understands what is at stake. Not just a kingdom, but existence itself. This isolation, this weariness, this predictability, it created an opening. And the first to exploit it was not his great enemy, Apep. It was his own family. It was his granddaughter, Isis, she of the throne, the goddess of magic, wisdom, and motherhood, the cleverest of all the gods, her mind as subtle and winding as the Nile Delta. She is not evil. Let's be very clear about that. Isis is perhaps the most relatable of the gods. She is a fierce protector, a devoted mother, and a brilliant strategist. And she, more than anyone, sees the new political landscape. Ra is distant, he is weary, and his power, she reasons, could be put to better use. It could be used to protect her own family, to ensure the legacy of her future son Horus. She doesn't see this as betrayal. She sees it as a necessary transfer of power, a political move, but to achieve it, she needs a weapon. She needs leverage that no other god possesses. She needs to know Ra's greatest secret. In Egyptian magic, everything has a Ren, a true name. This isn't the name you're called, but a secret, vibrational word that encapsulates your entire essence. To know something's true name is to have absolute, inescapable power over it. As the creator of all things, Ra had named all things. He named the birds, the fish, the mountains, the gods. But his own true name, the name given to him by no one, the name that was the ultimate secret. It was the master key to the universe, the word that held creation itself together. And he had never told anyone. Isis knew she could not force it from him. She could not fight him for it. He was, after all, still Ra. But she was a magician. She was a strategist. And she was patient. She watched her grandfather. She watched the weary old god as he ruled from his celestial throne. She saw his hands tremble with the weight of ages. She saw the weariness in his eyes. And in a detail that is both grotesque and deeply human, she saw that as he spoke, an old man's spittle would sometimes dribble from his lips and fall to the earth. This was it. This was the opening. This spittle was not just spittle. It was his divine essence, his jet. In secret, Isis descended to the earth. She found the place where his spittle had fallen and mixed with the dust of the ground. She, the great magician, knelt in the mud, and with her own hands she kneaded the divine saliva and the mortal clay. She worked it, shaped it, and breathed her own magic into it. She did not create a man or a beast or a demon. She created a creature that had never existed before, a creature that Ra himself had not named, and therefore had no power over. She fashioned a magnificent, terrible serpent, a viper, the first cobra. She took this new creation and she did not set it upon Ra. She simply placed it on the path she knew Ra walked every day when he came down to inspect his kingdom of Egypt. And then she waited. Ra, in his atom form, the old man, walked the path. He was preoccupied, his mind perhaps on the coming night's battle with Apep, or on the squabbles of his divine children. He did not see the serpent, hidden in the dust, a creature born of his own substance, but animated by another's will. The serpent struck. It bit him. The creator of all, the master of the universe, was struck down by a creature he didn't even know. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. This was not a normal poison. This was a magical venom crafted from his own divine essence. It was his own power turned back on itself. A fire unlike any he had ever known ripped through his veins. It was not the heat of the sun. It was a cold, burning agony. The Heka, the divine magic that flowed through him, recoiled. His body, the body of a god, was failing. He let out a roar that shook the heavens. What is this? What has attacked me? His heart burned, his limbs shook, his jaw chattered. The gods of the Ennead rushed to his side, their faces a mask of terror. If Ra could be laid low, what hope was there for any of them? What has happened, Divine Father? They cried. Ra, struggling for breath, could barely speak. Something has bitten me, something I did not create. I did not see it. It is not fire, it is not water. But my body is on fire, and I am colder than the abyss. Send for all the gods, all those who have knowledge of magic and healing. The gods came. They tried their most powerful incantations, their most sacred rituals. Nothing worked. The poison was too strong, too new. It was, after all, him. He was being killed by himself. And then, through the crowd of wailing, useless deities, came Isis. Her face was a perfect picture of calm, controlled concern. "What is this, Divine Father?" she asked, her voice smooth as river stones. "Has a serpent dared to strike the one who created it?" "Yes," Ra whispered, his voice cracking. "And the pain is greater than any I have ever known. I am dying." Isis knelt beside him. "Tell me your name, Divine Father," she said, her voice dropping to an intimate whisper. "Tell me your secret name. For a magical spell is only as strong as the name it uses. If I can utter your true name, I can command the poison to leave your body. I can save you." Ra's eyes, clouded with agony, snapped into focus. He saw it. He saw the trap. Even in his torment, he was the ancient god, the master strategist. She was asking for the keys to the kingdom. "I am Khepri in the morning," he hissed, trying to bluff. "I am Herakti at noon. I am Atum in the evening. I am the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who—" Isis shook her head, a mask of gentle pity. "No, Divine Father. Those are your titles. Those are your forms. They are known to all. But this poison is strong. It will not listen to titles. It will only listen to the true name. Your name is not written among those you have told us." The poison flared, a fresh wave of agony that made the god writhe. He knew he was beaten. He was trapped between two impossible choices: oblivion or surrender. To die and let the universe, Ma'at, and everything he had built collapse back into the chaos of Apep, or to live and to share the power that had once been his alone. It wasn't a choice. It was a checkmate. "Come closer," he commanded. And as the other gods were ordered away, Ra, the creator of all, leaned in towards his granddaughter. "I will transfer my name from my heart to your heart." He whispered the secret word, the Ren, the name that had sung the universe into existence. And in that moment, the fundamental balance of the cosmos shifted forever. Isis, now holding the ultimate power, spoke the spell. "Flow out, poison. I am Isis, the great magician, and I hold the name of Ra. I command you to leave him." The fire in his veins subsided. The cold receded. The pain was gone. Ra was healed. He was alive. But he was no longer the absolute monarch. He was grateful, yes, but he was also diminished. He had survived, but he had paid the ultimate price. His divine authority was now shared. Isis, his clever, ambitious granddaughter, now possessed the power to command him, to command the sun itself. She was now effectively his equal. This was the dark secret, the critical flaw exposed. His invulnerability was an illusion. His own family, his own creation had become his greatest rival. This act of magical and political blackmail was the ticking bomb that would blow the divine family apart. Re's power, once a single, unchallengeable sun, was now fractured. And this new fractured dynamic set the stage for the next great tragedy, the one that would stain the very earth of Egypt with divine blood. Ra, weakened by the poison and the betrayal, his authority compromised, his weariness now a permanent state, he became even more remote. He had withdrawn from earth after humanity's rebellion. Now he seemed to withdraw from the affairs of the gods themselves. He was still the head of state, the chairman of the board, but he was no longer the hands-on CEO. And into this power vacuum stepped his children and grandchildren, their own ambitions and rivalries, no longer held in check by his absolute terrifying authority. The central conflict erupted between two of his grandchildren, the sons of Geb and Nut, Osiris and Set. Osiris was everything Ra's ordered world was meant to be. He was the god of civilization, of agriculture, of the fertile black land of the Nile. He was the benevolent king who taught humanity how to make bread and wine. He was beloved. He was the perfect embodiment of Ma'at in practice. And then there was his brother Set. Set was his antithesis. He was the god of the other Egypt, the red land, the sterile desert. He was the god of chaos, of violent storms, of untamed, dangerous masculinity. He was the god of Isfet, of chaos in the mortal world. And yet this was the same Set who stood bravely on the prow of Re's boat every night, the chief defender against the cosmic chaos of Apep. This is the central paradox of Set. He was a necessary, loyal, and vital part of the divine order, but his very nature was antithetical to it. And he looked at his brother Osiris, the beloved, celebrated king of the fertile land, and he was consumed by envy. The story is a brutal one, a dark fairy tale. Set, in a fit of jealous rage, decides to remove his brother. He doesn't just challenge him to a fight. That would be too straightforward. He uses a trick, an act of Isfet. He hosts a magnificent banquet for all the gods. And as the centerpiece, he unveils a beautiful, ornate chest, crafted to the exact secret measurements of one person. He announces that this chest will be a gift for whichever god fits inside it perfectly. One by one, the gods try. They are too tall, too short, too wide. Finally, Osiris, trusting and noble, steps up. "Let me try," he says. He lies down in the chest. It is a perfect fit. In that instant, Set slams the lid shut. His 72 co-conspirators, other minor gods and spirits loyal to chaos, rush forward. They hammer the lid down, sealing it with nails, and pour molten lead into every crack. Osiris, the king of the living, is trapped in the first sarcophagus. They heave the chest into the Nile and watch as it floats away, carrying the suffocating god of life out to sea. This was not just a murder. This was an assassination of Ma'at itself. The god of chaos had murdered the god of order. And what was Ra's response to this? What did the great king of the gods, the divine father, do when his grandson murdered his other grandson, the king he had appointed to rule the earth? Nothing. The texts are largely silent. Ra does nothing. He does not strike Set down. He does not intervene. He simply watches. Why? Is he too remote in his celestial palace? Is he bound by some cold cosmic law that he cannot interfere? Or is he paralyzed, knowing that his authority is no longer absolute, knowing that Isis holds his secret name, knowing that Set is disastrously his chief defender against Apep every night? How can you execute your own bodyguard, even when he is a murderer, if his death means your own annihilation at the hands of a greater foe? Ra is trapped. His perfect family, his Ennead, the shadow court he created to uphold order, is now the source of the ultimate violation of that order. His enemies are no longer just outside the gates, they are inside his own house, at his own table. Isis, now a widow, does not wait for Ra's judgment. Empowered by his secret name, she takes matters into her own hands. She begins her desperate search for her husband's body, a quest that will define her. When she finds it, Set, in an ultimate act of defilement, finds it again, hacks Osiris's body into 14 pieces, and scatters them across the entire length of Egypt. This is Isfet in its most grotesque form, the dismemberment of order. The divine family has imploded. The perfect system Ra designed is fundamentally, irrevocably broken. This internal rot, this vulnerability, this compromising of his essential power led to the final, inevitable ticking bomb, the dilution of his very essence. Ra, the old king, his family in ruins, his authority challenged by his own granddaughter, and his kingdom in disarray, needed a new strategy. He was losing his grip. Local gods were rising in popularity, their priests gaining more and more influence. If he could no longer rule by absolute singular authority, he would have to rule by other means. He would have to adapt. This led to the age of syncretism, the age of mergers. If you can't beat them, you join them, or rather you absorb them. We see it first with minor but powerful gods. In the Fayum, the terrifying crocodile god, Sobek, was the Lord. Sobek was a primal god, a god of the Nile's fertility, yes, a protector, but also a raw, violent, predatory force. He was the hidden danger beneath the water. Ra did not suppress his cult. He merged with it. He became Sobek Ra. The message was clear. That ancient, terrifying reptilian power you fear and respect, that is also me. That is an aspect of my power. But the greatest, most important merger was yet to come. As Egypt entered the new kingdom, the capital city moved to Thebes, and the local patron god of Thebes was a deity named Amun. Amun's name meant the hidden one. He was the god of the unseen, the mysterious, the god of the very air you breathe. He was an abstract, subtle, and incredibly powerful concept. As Thebes grew into the capital of an empire, Amun's priests became the most powerful political force in the land, second only to the pharaoh himself. Ra was faced with another rival, a god whose power was not based on creation or the sun, but on the mystery of existence itself. And the priests of Amun were not going to be sidelined. So Ra did what he had to do to survive, to remain relevant. He merged, and thus Amun-Ra was born. This was perhaps the most brilliant theological and political masterstroke in Egyptian history. He was no longer just the visible, life-giving sun. He was now both Amun, the hidden one, the mysterious, unknowable, all-encompassing source of the cosmos, and Ra, the glorious, visible, dynamic manifestation of that hidden power. He became unequivocally Amun-Ra, king of the gods. His power was amplified. His cult became the state religion, his wealth and influence unmatched. But it's the ultimate paradox. In becoming more powerful, he became less himself. Is it Ra absorbing Amun, or Amun absorbing Ra? For the priests at Thebes, the answer was clear. Amun was the true, hidden power, and Ra was just his face, his visible form. The god who had forged his identity alone in the primordial chaos of none was now a composite, a hybrid. His very name was hyphenated. The self-created God was no longer self-sufficient. This is the eternal loop, the final trap. He is now completely dependent. He is dependent on his nightly merger with Osiris to regenerate. He is dependent on his political merger with Amun to maintain his power. And he is dependent on his chaotic, murderous grandson, set to even survive the night. Ra's house was essentially broken. The internal betrayals had done what Apep never could. They had compromised his power and shattered his family. With his secret name stolen by Isis and his grandson murdering his heir as he stood by, paralyzed, the absolute monarch was gone. This weakened, compromised god now had to find a new way to rule in a world that no longer feared his singular will. If he could not rule by pure power, he would have to rule by political alliance. This was the next great and perhaps final compromise, a strategy for survival that would see him merge his very essence with another god, creating the greatest, wealthiest empire his cult had ever known, and sowing the seeds of his own destruction. So Ra has made his bargain. The self-created God, the singular will, has accepted the ultimate compromise to survive. He is no longer just Ra. He is Sobek Ra, a hybrid of predator and sun. And most critically, he is Amun Ra, a hyphenated deity, a theological corporation. On the surface, this is the height of his power. The Amun Ra, king of the gods cult, is the wealthiest, most powerful religious institution the world has ever seen. His temples at Karnak and Thebes are a city unto themselves, a sprawling complex of pylons, obelisks, and treasure houses. The pharaohs of the new kingdom, the great warrior kings, wage their wars in his name, bringing back plunder and tribute to fill his coffers. His priests are the ultimate political power, controlling vast estates, a shadow government of immense wealth, their influence touching everything. Ra seems supreme, but it's a gilded cage, a Pyrrhic victory. The hidden one, Amun, has provided the political and theological framework, and Ra, the glorious sun, has become its public-facing visible brand. But every day, the Amun part of the name grows stronger, and the Ra part becomes more ceremonial. The priests of Amun, in their dark, incense-filled sanctuaries, whisper that Amun is the true, hidden, unknowable essence, and Ra is merely his most powerful manifestation. Ra, the god who battled Apep in the dark, is now a prisoner of his own PR. He's a concept trapped in dogma. The weariness of his nightly battle is now compounded by the hollow compromise of his day. He is richer than he has ever been, and he is less himself than he has ever been. And it is this corruption, this hollowing out of his true primal essence that leads to the greatest, most catastrophic betrayal in his long history. But this betrayal, in a twist of supreme irony, does not come from an enemy. It comes from his most fervent, most radical, most loyal worshiper. Enter a pharaoh named Amenhotep IV. He is a strange man, a philosopher king, an ascetic. He is not a warrior. He is a poet, a mystic, and he looks at the sprawling, wealthy, corrupt empire of Amun Ra, and he is disgusted. He sees the priests of Amun not as servants of the divine, but as corporate overlords, hoarding wealth, playing political games. He sees the hidden one, Amun, as a parasite that has latched onto his true God, obscuring him, diluting him. Amenhotep IV sees all this compromise, all this synthesis, all this messiness, and he decides to burn it all to the ground. He will not reform the religion. He will reset it. He will restore Ra to his original, pure, singular glory. This isn't just a misstep. This is the hubris of the true believer. He changes his name. He casts off Amenhotep, which means Amun is satisfied. He becomes Akhenaten, he who is effective for the Aten. The Aten. This is the name he gives to Ra. It is not Ra, the falcon-headed man. It is not Ra, the old man in the boat. It is not Ra, the complex, warring, feeling wounded God. No, Akhenaten's God is Ra stripped of all his myth, all his family, all his flaws. The Aten is simply the physical, tangible, radiant disk of the sun. It is a pure, abstract, singular, universal source of light and life. It is Ra purified by fire. This is Ra's ultimate victory. Through his pharaoh, he becomes the sole god. Akhenaten launches a revolution that is breathtaking in its totality. He declares that all other gods are false. They are illusions. There is only the Aten. This is not syncretism. This is monotheism. And it is a catastrophe. Akhenaten begins his purge. He uses the pharaoh's absolute power to wage war on his own culture. He disbands the priesthood of Amun, seizes their wealth, and scatters them. He sends his agents into every temple, from the grandest halls of Karnak to the smallest village shrine, and he gives them a single terrible order: chisel them out. The name Amun is hacked from tens of thousands of monuments, but he doesn't stop there. The alliance that Ra had depended on for millennia, Akhenaten destroys it. Osiris, the god of the dead, the beloved king who promised everyone an afterlife, Akhenaten declares him a fake. He shutters his temples. Think for a moment what this meant to the average Egyptian. Their entire understanding of death, their book of the dead, their path to resurrection, it's gone overnight. Replaced by what? By a distant abstract sun disk that offers no personal salvation. Isis, the great mother, the magician, the protector of children. She is a lie. Her cult is banned. Thoth, the god of wisdom, the one who guided Ra's boat, an illusion. And in the most profound, most dangerous, most cosmically foolish act of all, Akhenaten erases Set. He erases Apep. In Akhenaten's new, pure theology, there is no struggle. There is no darkness. The Aten is all-powerful, all good, all present. There is no nightly battle in the underworld, because there is no underworld. There is no great serpent of chaos. There is only the light. In his attempt to free Ra from his compromises, Akhenaten has emasculated him. He has erased his tragedy, his struggle, his story. He has turned the most complex, tormented warrior god in the pantheon into a flat, sterile, unfeeling logo. He has taken a god defined by his heroic nightly battle against non-existence and made him safe. This is the ultimate Pyrrhic victory. For a brief, shining 17-year reign, Ra as the Aten rules supreme and alone. Akhenaten abandons Thebes, the city of Amun, and builds a new capital in the middle of the desert, Akhetaten, the horizon of the Aten. It is a city built from scratch, dedicated to his one true God, and it is a disaster. The alliances fracture completely. The military, neglected by the philosopher king, allows the Egyptian empire to crumble at its borders. The people, their gods stolen from them, are terrified and resentful. They worship in secret, hiding their amulets of Isis and Osiris, praying for this madness to end. And the priests, the powerful, wealthy, disenfranchised priests of Amun, of Osiris, of Ptah, are in the shadows, plotting, waiting. Ra, in his Aten form, is now truly, absolutely alone. He has no allies. He has no family. He has no story. He is just a blinding, abstract light, ruling over a terrified populace and a crumbling empire. He has achieved the absolute supremacy he had at the dawn of time, and in doing so, he has proven that he can no longer survive it. The world he created has become too complex for such simplicity. And then Akhenaten dies. The betrayal is immediate. The backlash is total. The establishment, the military, and the priesthoods move in. They grab his young son, a boy named Tutankhaten, living image of the Aten, and they force him to become their puppet. The very first thing they do is make him change his name. He becomes Tutankhamun, living image of Amun. The name says it all. The Aten is dead. The hidden one is back. And he is back with a vengeance. Tutankhamun and the pharaohs who follow him enact a counter-purge. They declare Akhenaten the heretic, the enemy. They abandon his new city, leaving it to the desert sands, and they begin the systematic erasure of him and of his god. They restore the temples of Amun, bigger and richer than before. They restore Osiris, Isis, and all the old gods. And they go back to the monuments Akhenaten built, and they chisel his name and the Aten's name from the stone, hacking at the images of the sun disk with a fury. This was the final, pivotal abandonment. The heretic king was dead, and his pure solar revolution had been violently reversed. Ra, in his purest form, had been tried by the world, and the world rejected him. The great dynamic warrior god was gone. He was, of course, allowed to return, but not as the king. He was forced back into his hyphenated prison as Amun-Ra, no longer as a partner, but as an instrument. He was now just a state-sponsored icon, a glorious figurehead whose authority was permanently broken, a king in name only, as the true power now resided with the priests of Amun, the Hidden One. His story from this point on is no longer a battle. It is a slow, tragic fade into irrelevance, as the very gods he had once created rose up to take his place in the hearts of humanity. For centuries, the system holds. The rituals are performed, the festivals are celebrated, the pharaohs still call themselves Son of Ra, but it's habit, it's tradition. The fire, the necessity is gone. The heart of Egyptian spirituality has moved elsewhere. While Amun-Ra sits in his golden temple at Karnak, a state-sponsored god of empire, the people, the real people, the ones who were terrified by Akhenaten's abstract sun disk, are flocking to other gods. They are flocking to gods who understand their problems. They flock to Isis, his granddaughter, the clever, ambitious magician who stole his secret name. She has used that power not to rule the heavens, but to conquer the human heart. Her story is one that Ra, in his celestial remoteness, can no longer compete with. She is the grieving widow who searched the world for her murdered husband. She is the devoted mother who hid in the swamps to protect her infant son, Horus, from his murderous uncle. Isis is not an abstract concept. She is the patron of mothers, of wives, of the lost, and of the powerless. She doesn't just promise order, she promises salvation. She offers magic to the common man. She listens to prayers. And when Egypt's power begins to wane, when foreign invaders come, her cult is one that the invaders can understand. And then there is Osiris, the god who is murdered and brought back. He is the king of the Duat, the very underworld Ra must battle through. But Osiris is not a warrior. He is the great silent judge. And he offers something that Ra, the god of eternal cyclical life, never could, a personal, individual, eternal afterlife. He promises that you, a simple farmer, a scribe, a woman, if you live a life of Ma'at, will be judged fairly. And you will be reborn into the field of reeds, a perfect, eternal Egypt. How can Ra's grim, nightly war against chaos compete with that? How can the abstract concept of cosmic order compete with the personal promise of you will see your family again, you will live forever in paradise? Ra's allies have not just drifted, they have surpassed him. They have taken his complex, tragic universe and offered a simple, comforting answer to the one question he could never solve. What happens to me? The sun still rises, yes, but it's no longer a miracle. It's just the weather. Then come the final betrayals, the long, slow erosion of his world by forces he cannot fight because they do not even acknowledge his existence. First come the Persians, then the Greeks. Alexander the Great conquers Egypt, and his general Ptolemy becomes pharaoh. The Ptolemies are clever. They don't ban the old gods, they co-opt them. They merge them with their own gods. They try to create a new hybrid god, Serapis, to unite the Greek and Egyptian mind. But in this new Hellenistic world, Amun-Ra, the god of Egyptian empire, is a relic. He is a local deity. Isis, on the other hand, her cult, with its compelling story of life, death, and magic, explodes across the Mediterranean. She becomes a goddess of the Roman Empire. Her temples found from London to Pompeii. Ra's own granddaughter has gone international, leaving him behind in his dusty provincial temple. Then comes the final killing blow. Rome. Not just Roman conquest, but Roman culture. The Romans are pragmatic. They take what they like and discard the rest. And then from a rebellious province in Judea comes a new story, a new god. This new god is not a falcon. He is not a sun disk. He is a man, a carpenter's son. And his story, in a strange, distorted way, echoes the very elements Ra's cult has lost. He is a god who came to earth not as a distant, abstract king, but as a vulnerable human. He is a god who battled chaos, not Apep, but sin and death. He is a god who was betrayed not by his granddaughter, but by his own disciple. He is a god who was brutally murdered. And he is a god who was resurrected, not to fight a nightly battle, but once in a final decisive victory, promising an eternal afterlife to all who believe. This new religion, Christianity, does what even Akhenaten could not. It offers a single, universal, all-powerful God, but it connects him to a human story of suffering, sacrifice, and personal salvation. It is the story of Osiris and the monotheism of the Aten, fused into a single, unstoppable narrative. It is the anti-Ra. It does not demand that you help uphold the cosmic order. It declares that the cosmic order is already saved. Your victory is assured. For the people of Egypt, exhausted by centuries of foreign rule, by complex theologies, by a god-king who seems to be losing his nightly battle against the chaos of the world, this new story is a relief. The death of Ra is not a mythical event. It's not a grand final battle with Apep. It is a historical document. In 392 A.D., the Roman Emperor Theodosius I, a Christian, issues the Edict of Thessalonica. He declares Christianity the only religion of the empire. All other cults are banned. All other temples are to be closed. Imagine that day. The last priests of Amun-Ra, old men performing rituals by rote, are told to leave. The great doors of the temple of Karnak, which had opened every morning for 2,000 years to greet the sun, are barred shut. The fires on his altars are extinguished. The death of Ra is the sound of a key turning in a lock. It is the sound of silence. His world is plunged into chaos not by Apep, but by a legal decree. The Pharaohs, his divine sons, are gone, replaced by Roman governors. The rituals that he established, the ones his priests said were literally necessary to keep the sun rising, they stop. And the next morning, the sun still rises. This is the final, most devastating, and most ironic blow. His entire existence was predicated on this struggle. His whole identity was wrapped up in this cosmic essential duty. He was the god who had to fight Apep, or the world would end. And the world didn't end. It just forgot him. He is not truly dead. In myth, he still sails the night boat. He still fights the serpent. But he does so in an empty, silent cosmos. No one on earth is watching. No one is chanting his name. No one is performing the rituals to help him. He is at last truly and completely alone. The Creator has been made redundant by his own creation. The long twilight of Ra's reign dragged his entire divine order down with him. The hidden one, Amun, the very god who had so successfully absorbed him to become king, was now so vast and abstract that he too faded into nothingness. His brilliant granddaughter Isis survived the longest, her cult exploding across the Roman Empire, but she too was eventually absorbed and overwritten, her identity eclipsed by the rising cult of the Virgin Mary. The mother goddess simply found a new name. As for the cosmic problem Ra was born to fight, the eternal war between order and chaos, it, of course, never ended. The fracturing of pantheons, the political chaos, and the human betrayal he sought to contain simply continued under new flags, new names, and new gods. The struggle merely changed its costume. Ra himself found a strange, ironic resurrection in our modern age. We, the children of a new world, have dug up his temples and put his statues in museums. He is revived, not as a god, but as a pop culture symbol, a monster in a fantasy movie, a powerful boss in a video game, a logo on a t-shirt. In a final tragic echo of Akhenaten's own revolution, we have once again stripped him of his context, his tragedy, and his struggle. We have turned the most complex, psychologically tormented god in history back into a flat, simple sun disk. We remember his power, but we have completely forgotten his pain. So let's circle back to the very beginning, to the God who birthed the universe from tears of joy, only to be locked in an eternal war with the shadow his own creation cast. Ra was the god of the eternal struggle. His story is not a simple fable of light versus dark. It is a profound, cautionary, and deeply human epic about the nature of creation itself. It teaches us that to create anything, a family, a nation, an idea, a universe, is to simultaneously create its opposite. To create order is to define chaos. To have light, you must have shadow. Ra's ultimate flaw was not his age or his anger or his pride. His flaw was his first audacious act, his choice to exist. By pulling himself from the void, he set in motion a story that was, by its very nature, unwinnable. He created a system so beautiful, so complex, and so full of life, of gods and mortals, with their own free will, their own ambitions, their own magic, that it eventually, inevitably, evolved beyond the need for its own creator. His rays remain, a timeless testament to order born from chaos, but they are a warning, a reminder of the incredible, unbearable, and ultimately fatal burden of being the sun.